My name's Laxx, and I'm here to break down a few projects for you. I use Logic, and the first one I'm going to be doing is Trouble, which came out Never Say Die maybe a couple of months ago. So I'm just going to listen through the whole tune, and then I'll talk about it. Now, if you have questions, throw them in the chat, and I'll start answering them. All right. Cool. Okay. Send me questions and stuff, but I'm just going to start going through all the channels, and then we'll go from there. If there's anything that comes up like while I'm doing that, that's it. So I split basically before I consolidated all this into like different groups. The project was like 150 something channels. So I just did this so it's easier for like a normal person to interpret, because it's normally when I'm working it just becomes a mess, and like even I find it hard to find like the channels and stuff I want to work on, or like it'll take me like ages to find out one individual sound. But it's made up of a lot of stuff. Even it sounds quite simple, but I'm just like I get obsessed with the fine detail, and yeah, just lots of layering and lots of stuff, and all of these are like going to different buses with different stuff on. So yeah, this is a lot, but I'll start from the top and I'll go through everything. Normally, I think how I started this tune actually was I made this lead. I know this was like the beginnings of it, but I made this lead, and that was kind of like, that became like part of the kind of melody, which like, I didn't actually use that much, but the original version was basically based around that melody. Like, this is the whole intro, this like trancey thing, and I like barely used it, but I used like, you know, the whole intro was centered around this, and like big brass hits and stuff, and like actually the final version, like it's only a tiny piece. But that melody, I was like, cool, there's something there. So let's go through like the music. Okay. So yeah, kind of started from this. And this is the intro.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Of this lead. So yeah, in terms of like writing process, it was these brass hits, and then this started kind of feeling glued. It started feeling like there was an idea there, which is like a contact and then another contact instrument with phasing and stuff on. And I bounce everything in place, partly because it saves CPU, but partly because it means I can't work on it anymore. So I like put a full stop. So if you're a Logic user, you can just Control B and just bounce whatever it is just as audio, which is really handy. So yeah, I started with like the contact instruments, a few kind of like reverse things, just like atmosphere and energy. Yeah, and so I had like kind of all that laid out, this whole section, and then I decided I've spent like this track probably I spent like 60 or 70 hours, probably more, because I wrote this like last summer. I wrote the idea last summer, and then kind of left it, didn't know what to do with it. It was playing it out, but I just didn't know where it was going. And then I was like, right, I'm going to finish this like now. And just kind of flipped it on its head. And the kind of first way that I tried to get outside of my comfort zone, which was these leads, the kind of trancey leads, which got me stuck, was like trying to switch up the intro and get a melody. So it started with this kind of Sega-y thing, and actually have those sounds. Really simple. That's just like kind of it's a silence with just like some bit crushing on. It's like nothing crazy. This guy, it was the trance gate that like made it come to life. Before that, so another silence, which I just bounced in place so I couldn't like fuck with it anymore. Bit crusher, trance gate, which gives it the stop start, bring up out the filter points, and then yeah, then that kind of just started all kind of feeling like it was going somewhere, and there was like something inside it. just a high version, layered with the original, layered with a wide version. Get that phasing too. It's kind of all frequency bands, and it's like, what are these guys? Yeah, more layering on the bass too, which I think is just a detune saw with the same kind of distortion. Yeah, it's pretty harsh detune. And then this one's probably sub. Yeah, EQ bump. You can see it there. EQ bump, and then on the harmonic, on that frequency boosted. And because this track just wanted to be so in your face and loud, everything in the chain, which I'll get to later, is just clipping by itself and like distorting a bit by itself. So yeah, just kind of sat together. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Driving that melody. That was everything, that's the drums as well, bounced together, which I just felt like it needed more grip and more like stuff going on. So same thing, like trance gate, bit crushing, little OTT, some multi-band. Yeah, so I'll get to the effects later because there's a lot of those. I'll show you the drums, which like aren't that crazy, but I like same thing as like when you've got an idea that started, it's really hard to kind of get out of where you're at with it because it's easy to get stuck. So with the same kind of bit crush sound, I wanted to do some old school bit crush drums, and yeah, I thought I'd actually bit crush these, but they're so shit anyway that they didn't really need it. Really old drum machine. And I'm obsessed with sidechaining, so everything, this one's actually being sidechained twice, because, oh no, that's just a little bit of compression, and this channel is being sidechained to bus 1, which is, no, this one's being sidechained to audio 38, which is like somewhere in the chain. It's basically like an invisible, silent sidechain. So yeah, some old school hits there. I find with, especially like current dance trend, like current EDM stuff, there's always a hat riding. And so I try to get this like white noisy hat going as much as possible. Because it just helps you stay on the groove, you know, so when that comes in, it just kind of builds out. Little when I was going through this, like I do some weird things, but it just kind of worked in this, which I took a bunch of this is the kind of build drums, so some live breaks, some clapping, and then some snares. And automation, normally just, I really like this filter because it's just mega simple. You can't really fuck with it too much. But yeah, coming up nothing. Yeah, but I put a phaser on the bus for some reason, and automated that to come in. Yeah, so there's a low cut as well, I think, yeah. Phaser that comes in from here on. So it just gives it some width and some movement, because I was just finding that everything was smashing together at the same time. It needed to like it needed to come out. It's pretty high actually. Cool. And there's a riser in there too. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, and then normally with my drums, I have all of the like important kicks and snares normally bust together, and then they're triggering the sidechain. And I think actually I was using LFO tool, so it didn't matter so much about sidechain. But it's, if you want a clean mix, you have to really like separate out what's hitting what you want to hit through the mix. So it's mostly kick and snare in like dubstep and trap. And so yeah, mostly bus all my hats and everything together so that nothing's clashing with the kick, even if it's not in the same frequency band. Yeah, bus 5 has just got a compressor on it, which is like everything's being sidechained to. So it just stops mud, I find. But yeah, groove is super important, and being able to like know the timing of the tune and like be able to basically nod your head to it. So yeah, just kept adding hats to this because I just felt like it needed it more, like little hat layers, and yeah, like bright ones, chorusing, like quite harsh ones. These are like trappy ones. Oh, they're wide, really wide, and they're panning. And then I think this one's the offbeat one. Yeah, which is just kind of all frequency bands. So yeah, groove is really important. Kicks and snares, because the kick is riding along with the claps. It's not, the kick hits when the clap hits. In like a traditional dubstep sense, it's you kind of want them. You don't want anything that's got too much like mid or low information in terms of clap, I find. So the kick is like, yeah. So that's a kick actually I used in a lot of like my older tunes. But yeah, it's nothing special. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really process it too much because I knew how it sounded. Took out a little bottom. I find that like with the music, with this kind of stuff, you want it to like just punch through. This feels wrong now because it's so pointy there. But I felt like it just needed it for the track to feel right. So a little transient shaping is clipping because the master, but, and then limiting after, which kind of rounds it off, and then some more tops, which I just must have felt like it needed. So we got a bigger clap, and then a side, and now that was huge. Yeah, pretty large. And one second. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, sure. Alright, cool. Alright, brother. Too loud. So I turned it down. Yeah, fire questions. I haven't been looking. Getting involved in this session. I'm not seeing questions actually, but comments. Oh no. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so if there's any questions, I'll answer them. I can't actually see them, but let me put them up. Okay, cool, got it. Right. What's up, yo? Sounds awesome. What are your tips for proper mixing and leveling? I mean, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and like, I don't think they're like, you can try and like level match other people's tunes, or you can try and level match like things you like, and I guess that's smart, but I think like actually it comes down to taste. And like if you rely too much on, I use Span, and I find this really helpful because you can find out where's everywhere, levels and stuff like that. If you like move the cursor over, you can see the frequency here, and then you can see like the dB level as well, top right, and that's really helpful. So yeah, I think like subs, you kind of want to be like, it wants to be louder than everything else. You kind of want it to be like a kind of like a smiley face, so like lots of sub, and then highs nearly matching the level of the sub, but like it's just based on taste. It depends how bright the sound is too. So yeah, just like follow your ears a lot, and just try and like look what other people are doing as well. If you drag a track in and look at it on the spectral analyzer, then you can kind of see what levels they're going for. And mid-side is super important as well, so I'll get into that in a bit. Okay. Alright, so what else we got here? Right, so drop stuff, and then a ton of effects. Okay. And the vocals, obviously. So I took this from a sample I'd recorded, just a dude saying trouble, and then pitched it around, and like I'm like meticulous with time stretching and like making sure stuff's on the beat. So, time stretched it, bounced it a few times, and then made a stereo version. So with this sample without
trouble.
It's flat. This is a great plugin if you use Logic. It's basically just a vocoder. And formants and pitching down, bring the volume up, OTTing. I love this one. This is from who's it by again? Audio Damage. And it's basically like a distortion and delay. And it's really grimy and just distorted and great. So yeah. After that kind of processing, and then a side version, it's good. Right, let me turn up the mic. It seems like I'm too quiet. Yeah, fire me if there's anything else. Is that too? Okay, that's better. But let me know if there's anything, if the volume's alright. Okay. So drop stuff. It all started from kind of this serum patch, which I'd made in the first version. And without the processing. Yeah, so I love this all pass because you get some weird tones. And I just went through and did a lot of little kind of flips and stuff. And I find that I'm normally, yeah, this one's really simple, but I think this is, God, the volume's so quiet on this. Yeah. So it's FMing from the signals. I suppose the signals that loud. And then a lot of the time, because Logic's automation isn't as like quick and to the mark as Ableton is, I do a lot of automation inside Serum, so I don't have to do too much. So just a little like quick from going from different rates, and yeah, just like this itself gives a lot of kind of roominess to it. Disperser, which is incredible. It kind of delays the sound a bit. But what a disperser does basically is it's like a tone. It's like it separates out all the bands, and it lets delays each band like millisecond by millisecond. So it means that the tops hit much faster than the bottoms hit, and it makes everything sound gluey and chewy. And yeah, it's really powerful plugin. It's super simple. And then driven, just dry work quite low, but I just wanted to kind of do it. Ladder filter kind of takes out the highs a little bit, kind of by accident, but it makes it sound analog-y. Brought back up with OTT. This almost acts like a delay. But I really liked the sound of it, and I liked the movement with it, because it's kind of off the grid. It's to do with the room size. Yeah, so a little bit of roominess. Filters out later on. And then this is kind of like a dubstep sidechain, so it fades in it's doing it every quarter note. So it just gives like a pause just before the sound hits. Some distortion. This one's really nice. Subtle. EQ out some of the lows, I would have thought. Just boosting the highs, and then this is automated later, so just flip up. Another bit crusher, which really helps. It doesn't do, you can like downsample, but I normally just have it like this because it stops. It's like a hard clipper, so it means that it doesn't go over 0. And you can get some really nice results of that because it just means that it's been stopping at 0. And then some compression. And then bounced his audio and brought back down, which I'll get to in a sec. Does the mic sound right, guys? Just let me know if this is fine. Give me a thumbs up. In regards to stereo image, how do you balance pan, the bass, lead, and drums? Kick, always mono. Snares, I like the transient to be mono. And then I build kind of clap layers around it and things around it that are stereo. And then EQ those separately. So this is the mono kind of clap layer. Because I wanted just those frequencies. There is some stereo in it actually, which is fine, but the main stereo comes from this way. So it's just the sides, and I'm boosting that as appropriately, how I feel right. And it just gives you more control when you've got them on 2 different channels. So yeah, with snares, I like the transient in, I'll show you the kick snare in the trap section actually. So we've got kick and snare. This one's a different kick. Really short, and just kind of like with trap kicks, especially, like they don't have to have a lot of bottom end weight to. They just want to be snappy for me, and like I like building my drums to be really punchy and quick. So this one is just super short. It needs a fade out actually. And there's a second one to give it kind of movement. The snare is, so that was kind of the snare I started with. And I remember like nearly the final edit, I added like a lower snare hit underneath it. Yeah. So that's just like a tone. But it did make the difference actually in the mix. Because without it, it's just that. So it's like, that's like 700. yeah, 670 hertz, and then there's that little plunk. And if you delay one of them as well, if you kind of like fit them together, you can get quite creative with like how you fit them together. So this one hits like a tiny bit later than that one. So it's kind of that like Jack U snare, like kunk. And then of course this one. That's just like a kind of wide EDM snare. And one of the like most useful things I've found in the last like 5 years is frequency shifters and drums. Because this guy, it's probably not gonna, yeah, okay, it does sound quite different. That was originally it. And then EQing out the bottom. Yeah. So with a frequency shifter, if you're doing the musical elements, if you do it with the piano, because the harmonics are like, are in order, like kind of doubles, it's kind of like, it like is a double and then like a half and then a quarter and then like so on. It gets like much finer, quicker up. With drums, you don't really have to worry too much about what the harmonics are. So with a frequency shifter, you can really abuse it. And I actually just pitched this one down because it kind of fit a bit more in the like key of the track. But you can really go crazy with it and get some like amazing textures. Or just sounds, like it makes everything sound unique. Yeah. So this guy is stereo. It's got kind of a lot of stereo in. Mono. And this guy is a snare I made like a while ago, and it's like a little bit of kind of, I feel like you don't want the stereo to just be hitting on the exact same places as the mono, because it just sounds a bit boring. So for me, as long as the transient is punching through, then I normally worry about like what the mono's doing after that. So I want like a really good snap and then quite a mono-y clap or like a reverby thing, like strictly mono. And then I normally layer another sound like this guy on top of it to like kind of give it a bit of room and space. And yeah, so yeah, I don't normally pan drum. I know a lot of people pan hi-hats and stuff. But yeah, I try and like leave most things mono and then, most things like down the center with a stereo layer. And then you can kind of see where things are hitting, what space needs to be filled. So yeah, let's just carry on with the drums. Yeah. But normally everything is sidechaining to the kick and snare. So this guy is sidechaining to the kick. Yeah. So that's a pretty wide hat which I made a while ago. I can cut out most of the lows. It was still pretty top endy anyway. But that felt right. And this is being sidechained. Most things are sidechained individually to bus 2, I would have thought. Okay, that's just a normal compressor actually. But like this crash. Okay, that's not even sidechained. Normally I'm just so meticulous about where everything sits. I put all my like high-endy percussion-y stuff and hats and crashes in one bus. And then sidechain that bus to kick and snare, so there's just tons of room in the mix, and like everything grooves naturally. So. Trouble. What's this one? More haze and shouts and stuff. Yeah, pretty simple actually. But with drums, I kind of just level them off. Using a limiter in the right way will get you to 0, and then you can bring it down a bit after that. So yeah, limiters are really useful for like containing the frequencies. And then everything's been driven again a little bit more. So, okay, leads. This was the audio. So I bounced the top thing that I showed you, this guy, into audio, and then kind of fucked with it more as audio. I think with the delay on as well, or like with the reverb on too. So that's here, I'm pretty sure. So that's basically the kind of like drop leads, and then there's a bunch of stuff like surrounded around it. So yeah, let's start with this guy. Normally when I bounce stuff to audio, it's like I'm ready to take it to the next level, and like it does sound a lot bigger than it did before. So OTTing a little bit. I like OTT is really useful, but I don't use it. I try and use it sparingly. A little high dip, a lot more distortion. Some mid-side EQing. That's actually quite a lot of stuff. So yeah, brightness, it's got de-essed a little bit. There's like a little punch here. And then brought in a little bit, so there's not so much stereo width. Or there's still a lot, but there's slightly less than it was. LFO'd again. So it's ducking out of the way. More distortion. Multiband, which this is a bit needless. You can kind of hear it doing. It's kind of it's an expander, but it's kind of just leveling this whole section here, and it actually makes it sound a bit less harsh. And then being clipped quite a lot. So it's just chopping off. It's chopping off the tops. Excited. Gain reduction, which actually I learned through a Fox Stevenson tutorial where he talked about this. This is kind of just like a non-compression. Oh, it's a single band compressor, but it's really aggressive. Just controls the signal a little bit. It's quite good though. It's just so simple and really obnoxiously loud to make things so. Some EQing. I found that the sides were really clashing because I've got a bass that's just like hitting on the sides in this frequency band. So I just got rid of some of the low mids in stereo, only the stereo, and leave the mono. Is the sidechain. It's kind of harsh. And then last thing's again like more clipping. This one's actually really aggressive. Yeah. You can control what's distorting and how it's distorting, so I just kept pushing it until it kind of like hit the way I wanted it to. And like I've really got no method for that. I just keep trying until it sits, until I feel like it sits right. So yeah, on top of that, these are all like the support kind of sounds, like the sounds that sit around the main the main drop stuff. And actually, like, these are some of the things that I do first. I find I'm writing a main idea and then going through samples at the same time and finding little cool sounds that just like tickle my eardrum. And yeah, I throw random things in the arrange. And most of these started as just like random things. Like I kind of just try random things, and then actually I like always end up surprising myself. So like I'll make a 16-bar loop or whatever, and then just chuck some random effects like those guys, and it helps like kind of fill out the track. So let's listen to this. Some stuff here. It's kind of like, frequency shifted chant that I've chopped up. These are very stereo. So there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of stereo stuff going on. I know that it's semi-inspired by Gamma, the drop, this sound, because he's just got this running constant, like kind of trap screech going on. These comments are awesome, man. Abe, big up Abe. Brock, I see everywhere, legend. Yeah, so this was a serum patch that I bounced down, which I just wanted something that moved the whole time and sat behind the lead, and I knew this had energy. So I just bounced it in place as a serum patch. I think this might be the original one. No. Yeah, and a little frequency shifting. And I knew that these things would have use, so I normally like mute things until later on and then just try them over the main lead. So yeah, these kind of sounds are really useful. But what I'm getting at is having something stereo and it's just constantly driving the background is really important for energy. You can barely hear it, but I could hear it when I was in the studio. And there's just a white noisy gluey there that just kind of like fit in the background. Right. Okay. So Dr. Ozzy, actually, I was speaking to him about this tune just before I needed to hand it in. And he like very rightly told me it needed like a kind of rhythm offbeat thing. So it's like tick, womp, womp, womp. And so it ended up being this. So this kind of started from a patch he sent me and something. But it needed to be in this frequency band. Like, yeah, without it, there needed to be something around this period, around this band, like 200, 150. So I chucked, yeah, this is kind of the final thing. It's super stereo and it just fits in the background. So I kind of look at the sound, I look at the waves and see what kind of holes there are. And yeah, this bass felt like something needed to be there. So yeah, this was the kind of thing. Okay, questions. Yeah, basically bouncing down was kind of when I realized that I'd like leveled up as a producer. Just taking any old, like this is the original lead, and putting it as audio, it means you can't progress anymore with the actual sound design. And you can kind of see what's right and wrong with it. And then from then on, you can start EQing, you can start like flipping stuff, reversing, and like getting the sound, trying new things.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer in every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Things, and I find that I'm normally working with audio anyway. So I bounce I bounce things into, I put things on different channels and put different effects on them, like tonal delays and distortions and reverbs, and it's just like visually you can see what's going on, and you can see like where the problems are at. And I think one of my favorite things is, which you guys probably know, putting a bunch of reverb on, bouncing that down, and then reversing it into the same sounds. You hear that like non-stop in my music, because it gives introduction to the sound. So it's just a satisfying way of introducing a sound, and depending on how long you make the tail. Yeah, I just reversed that a bit. How did I create my signature short snare sound? I think it was honestly just, it was accident, and it just kind of came naturally. But this one's a good example because the trap snare in this is like obnoxiously high. And I find in Logic I can't remember I didn't do it on this one, but I did it on this one. It's basically speed, which is like the same in Ableton. It's easier to do in Ableton. If you do it with a fine, then this will be the same effect, but Logic's annoying in this regard. But I was doing things like just taking this probably started like down here. Yeah, it did. And just pitching it up until I'm feeling like it's hitting the right frequencies. So that's kind of how it just felt like it sat in the mix a bit better. Transient shaping everything gave it like that kind of snap. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for drums, I dedicate certain areas to different parts, like mono for the snaps, and then adding clap layers and fading things in, and then having direct stereo layers, and then you can solo all of them and find out which one's which. Okay, mastering, low cut and high cut, which I find really useful. And actually, I think I can't remember if I automate in this one, but this should be on linear phase because it means that it's a harsh cut, and it's basically just cutting everything out below like 20 hertz or 10 hertz in this one. But it stops rumble, and if you do like a sub drop, then it stops that just real bottom end stuff. I brought the volume way down, and I use this a lot to check how it sounds in mono, which is really useful too. Multiband. This I did very near at the end because I felt like it needed a bit more punch. And this was me trying to solve the problem of there being this hole around here. Because the kicks are hitting around here, snares hitting around here. There's just a big gap here. So yeah, but I fitted that in, and I just wanted a bit more control with the subharmonic. Ozone 4 because I like the sound of it. It's being soft clipped really heavily. Some multiband. All of this is just kind of on the fly and seeing what works. And it's actually half dry, half wet, but quite harsh. And stereo imaging, which I'm boosting the highs incrementally. But without it, it's a big difference. Huge. And it's mostly the soft clipping that does it. Yeah, the soft clipper in this I just like. You can use anything. You can use I use this quite a lot to just slam sounds into and find a cool find where their limit is. And you can use like different ozone stuff, or you can use the Ableton saturator on soft clip mode. It's really like preference, but I always end with this, which is like a hard clipper, which basically just stops the signal at 0. Okay. Need some fires. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to move on to another track in a minute. So if there's any more questions about Trouble, let me know. With sound design, I saw someone talking about that. Honestly, it's just trial and error. I normally make a bunch of sounds and then print them to audio, and because I've made lots of different variations in them, then you can start kind of playing with them as audio and like find out what's working. And so this is the trap lead, which is running into a bus as well with a bunch of processing in. Frequency shifter, manipulate is really great if you're looking for like vocals and stuff to mess those up. Just pitch. I'll pitch up some harmonics. Really subtle, but I think I bounced that down actually. That's why the dry wet's in my thing. I find that like a lot of plugins slow stuff can delay the sound, so I just bounce them in place, so you know that that's what it's going to look like. OTT, EQing, harsh frequencies are like 5K and 2K. Mid-side, again, and then it goes into that same bus with all the drop leads head in there. My biggest advice is export stuff, process stuff and export it. And so this was the pre. Okay. I'm going to move on to my Delta Heavy remix. Cool. This is actually the first live stream I've done with my tunes basically, which is kind of crazy. Because I always kept my secrets and things that I'd learned to myself. And just kind of starting, you guys, this is the kind of first thing that I've done where I've like told people how I've done it, you know. Okay. Yo, what's up, Sean? Hey, what's up? Levi. Okay. I thought I'd just do this remix I did for Delta Heavy. Because it's mostly original sounds and it's really fat. So, let's get into this. I'll just play it through and then we can go to it. Jesus. This one's large, so I'm going to close the analyzer.
Revenge.
Cool. Yo, what's up, Erica? Typing you like in the building. Okay, so this one, because it's a remix, I felt like I needed to use some things from the original. So I think these are all the stems I used apart from one bass noise. So I won't go into those too much, but it sound like this. And they're really good, like Delta Heavy and Muzz. They are great producers, so like that can help you a lot. If you have really good sounding things in your project, then it helps your sounds kind of stick out a bit more. So I guess the beginning of this tune was this kind of breakdown for me. This whole section made me feel like it's going somewhere. So some like impacts. Sampling one of the original sounds they used, but it's basically just like a sub layer and a mid, and like a kind of mid layer. So I just look on the spectrum and kind of get them to fit together. And this was the kind of beginning to it, which is just a slidey lead, which is actually just straight saw wave, because I like saw waves. Ivory, what's up, man? Guitar rig. So it's basically stacking reverbs and distortions and compression to give it more life. Someone said earlier, how do you use OTTs more sparingly? And actually limiters have become a new favorite thing, because you can really abuse the sound, like bring it up a lot. So it means that when the sound stops playing, then the reverb tail comes up to match the original volume, so you can get some really big sounds with that. So yeah, that was kind of the beginnings of the song, where I felt like there was a vibe. Printed it to audio, and then kind of high cut it and like bring it into the track out of the filter. And then printed that one too, so I could have control with it, and cut the tail. And I actually cut the tail, and then decided it needs more tail, so I bounced a delayed version of it. It's like an affected version of this again, phasing. Okay. Builds. Someone said, how do I lay out my builds? It's normally to do with energy. And if you can bring the energy up enough before the build, then you can just go all in. So I just went all in, like kicks going full time, snares rolling full time, crowds clapping, and then put a sub underneath it as well to give it more like oomph. Yeah. So just trying to fill out this frequency as much as possible. So with this is what the intro melody is what inspired. Oh, whoops. Is what inspired the kind of drop melody. So this guy was just a simple silence patch that I just kept processing. So it's just sliding a little bit, pitch bends a little bit, fade in a little bit, and then just bunch of processing. Weirdly, this added a lot of characters, just spectral, I don't know what it is, spectral gate. Made this one mono, low cut, sausage fattener. And then just kept processing it. So I did a bunch of processing, got it to a good level. I never try and distort stuff too much. Like I try and get it sound clean, and then print it as audio, and then take it to a next level, like in the next set. So yeah, this is mono still. If you don't use Kaido Heart stuff, use them because they are great. So I just put a tonal delay on the top band in this and actually moved it around a bit. So the top band is delaying but also moving, which I felt like it needed. Sausage fattener, OTT a little, multi-band a little, so it's quite harsh, overdrive, and then compressor, and then same on a stereo version of it as well. Also, just these horns, contact horns, which and really like these they sound fat, they are big, but for me the feeling glued in the tune is the sidechain. Because it didn't feel, it just naturally chops the beginning, it chops the snaps of stuff. So yeah. So this is how this started, and then I chopped, this has gone through a ton of different versions, but chopped little bits up and put them into like grain delays and messed around with grain delays for ages and granulizers and stuff like that, and ended up with bunch of other different versions. I never used this bit, but I always liked it. It's like a random scream that came out from just granulizing this. So yeah, that was one of my favorite bits, and it never really made it in. It made it in like a really quiet way. Pitched it up a little in this section. And then just like made it tight, made it feel tight. Just chopped some delay tails off and made some chops. So that's the lead basically. What was a major breakthrough moment in the productions? In general, feeling like I got a mix down that hit on a system, that was a real breakthrough. But with this tune, I was losing my mind trying to finish it. I only had like a week left to do it, and I couldn't do it. And I quickly wrote a riff. I wrote like something along the lines of this. And then I left the house, and when I was actually on the train somewhere, and I was like, oh, shit, I think that's actually quite good. And then and then I just pulled my laptop out and I started writing while I was on the train, and got it in a good like it was having, when you've got all the time in the world to finish something, then it doesn't always end up that good. When you've got like a deadline, and when you set yourself like a time to do it by. Then yeah, just like that idea was actually good enough, but I just wasn't giving it the time to like kind of sit. Subs are really important. quite movie, but it's just a sine wave with some movement on it and some kind of harsh cuts. Yeah, it's just pitching around, and the notes re-trigger every quarter note, so it's going boom, boom, boom. And then it's cutting out the kind of beginnings of this. So the kick and the snare can come through really big. A bit of compression on that bass, and then I made this white noise kind of thing for my subs a while ago. I think it's this one. Yeah. So it's basically Kylo Hart's Facturator, and low cut this version and made it stereo, so that the sub is creating white noise and then they're both being glued together. So you've got loads of subs and loads of white noise on top of that. And I think this is just, yeah, there's shit ton of stuff there. But so long as they're not touching, and then they're not, yeah, this one's been gated, so I can't pull the volume down too much. But they're not touching the same, even though this doesn't go down as much as it should. They somehow weren't clashing because they were different enough, because I saturated the absolute arse out of it, and this one too. Tons of distortion, and it changes it enough that you can introduce it to the original one, and it doesn't kind of clash. So yeah, you should to make big subs, get the harmonic and the low sounding good, and then add white noise, and you'll be that's how you win. Kick and snare being dispersed, multi-band transient shapes, limited, more transient shapes. But so long as they're not going over 0, then you have more control. So I make them really huge, and then just make sure it's not going over 0, and then I can always bring the volume back a bit. Do you have any advice when producers get creatively blocked? When I was saying earlier about putting random things on the timeline, a lot of these sounds, the drop kind of support. They're just lots of little chops. And I just make, and all the edits that I'm not sold on, but they maybe have a place, I just bounce them and just throw them in the arrange window. And yeah, and then actually they do have a place. And even if they don't last very long, yeah, they're just somehow, you surprise yourself. So I find that try and surprise yourself as much as possible and don't overthink it. So just throw random things in the arrange, just print audio, throw random sounds later on in the track that you're going to forget there, and then when you start playing it through, you're oh, actually there's an idea there. But yeah, I think when you're feeling creatively blocked, and especially for tunes like this, with kind of cool production techniques and trying to make interesting sounds, just spend time making cool leads and cool sounds, and there'll always be a place for it, because next time you open a project, you can pull it up and there's a sound already made. Is there anything else people want to see about this? Normally have a shit ton of effects. Yeah, there's a lot. Some of these are from the original, most are not. Risers in the background, sirens, shouts and stuff, just all tucked in there. And for me, that's when I like to complicate stuff. A lot of the complications are in the background, but I find that risers halfway through an 8-bar is a good way of leading into the next section, and then sirens, and just, yeah, there's a lot of risers and random stuff. So I'm trying to think what, like, this lead, even though it doesn't sound all that, it fits the track. But all sound design tips. I like to make like ways of surprising yourself. I like to randomize things, basically. So then just print this and then start playing it. But I try and, yeah. Okay. So you can hear the delay, like the kind of movement in the delay. That to me is like one of the things that started making the sound less plastic. But you can go really far with snappy or like all the kind of hard stuff, because you just start layering random stuff, and you start finding different ways of fitting things in. So I'm just going to add an LFO to the pitch. I do a lot of things like that, bounce a couple of different versions of it, and then take it to another level. Well, so then you've got different versions of this. And then you can take this one and time stretch it or grain delay. This delay isn't the tonal delay. It's called texture from Ableton. It isn't quite as good, but it definitely does some cool stuff. So let's turn that on, yeah. And then just keep going down this rabbit hole of like experimenting with the sound. So now we've got third generation. You can pitch that around. You can always find a place for something, you know, like this could even be a lead, or like, you know, some cool parts of it. I often like take tails, like this tail is interesting to me, and chopping it like on the beat. Fade ins, fade outs. Yeah, just trying to get surprised by a sound, you know, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but there's always something that... I just try and go down the rabbit hole as much as possible. You know. But for Serum, I just spend hours making different patches. When I'm done with a tune, or when I feel like it's, even if it's just an edit, I bounce, I export and I save the presets. So I have like thousands of sounds I've made. Even if I never use them in the tune, they're always there for like, you know, experimenting. But I think I'm as obsessed with like sound design and cool noises as I am with mixing. And this is this is a useful thing for anyone who's having trouble like fitting two things together. Like this tune there's the lows, the mids, and then this is kind of low, mids, and highs. But you can set, this is this basically, I think this is coming from the kick and snare, but it ducks the exact frequency that's playing when the sound's playing. So I think, yeah. You can kind of see it working. The kick and snare is so short, but basically, you can see it there. It's like I turn the release up. This thing is called track spacer. So it means that you can do it in Pro Q3 and stuff like that. But I found this really useful because you can have like two things. You can have a vocal playing behind like massive pads, and it will just cut the exact frequencies out from the vocal from these pads. It's really easy to use. So yeah, you can hear it there. Yeah. for writer's block and stuff like that, and to keep the tune going. You can do it in Ableton still, but I actually vary speed is like a vinyl speed. So Urkel, you should try this if you don't do it, because it's great. It's vary speed and it speeds it up like a vinyl. If you haven't on vary speed and MIDI, so it's going to play the tune faster and the pitch up. And I find that it helps you hear the track in like another dimension, like a faster, more pitched up version. And you can tell what's clashing when you can kind of hear the imperfections when it's pitched up or pitched down. So you can put it anywhere, you know. So when I start getting stuck, then I start putting out this speed thing. And before I knew about this, I'd put a pitch plugin on the master and just pitch the whole track up and down until I started like hearing it different.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
So yeah. If you guys want to know anything else, let's go over the second drop.
Hungry for revenge.
There are so many plugins, I can't even find the master. Here we go. You can actually see, I just noticed that this whole section, yeah, I did, in the same way with treble, I noticed this massive hole here. You can hear that, because I just like sub and highs, and like mids I find hard to get right, but I realized there was a massive hole here, and you can hear that. There. So this sub layer that I showed you with the white noise, yeah, it's literally that. This is just the raw sub, and then this one comes in with the sub and the like stereo white noise processing, and then it fills out this. Yeah, a bit of sidechaining would be good. How do you avoid too busy of a mix and over layering, still have it flow and sound full? To be honest, I end up realizing, I mean, first things first, to find out if it's too cluttered, you either see it on the imager, or put a hard clipper on the master, and or just like an overdrive, anything that's going to boost it all, and you'll magnify what's right and wrong with the sounds. So my biggest advice is, for mastering at least, is put something on the master and drive it. It sounds kind of balanced. I mean, it's not perfect, but when you've got too much sub, the sub's going to distort immediately. And if the highs aren't balanced, then there's going to be issues. But yeah, my biggest advice with that is magnify the sound, find out what it's telling you is right and wrong, and then make each frequency band shine. So I try and keep the sub a little bit of harmonic, but mostly just the fundamental, and then This is kind of all frequencies, to be honest, but it's trying to be flat with a hard fundamental or harmonic. So, and then the drums I try and keep them all out of the way. So you've got lots of highs, yeah, some mid, but you basically with a lead like that, with the leads that I like, I have to like carve out anything from like 300 to like 5K. So I have to sacrifice a lot to fit in those kind of leads like this one, you know. So you just got to look at the sound that you're selling, the sound that you like. You have to commit to it and move everything out of the way from it. And with a really harsh sidechain, then you can kind of allow like a crash or like a clap layer or like a big snare to fill up like highs and mids and like little things like that. But you just got to be careful like where things are hitting. But yeah, with dubstep, it's kind of all frequency. Yo, Matt. Yeah, but I'm kind of drawing to an end apart from like the mastering stuff, which again is like a mess, but it just works for me. I think actually this one is not much. It's not much, it's just control. So that was nothing on it. It's like touching the mids and lows a little, high cut, turning the gain down a lot, bring it back up a little bit. This plugin's cool. It brings up like the quiet frequencies and you can bring down the lows. So I just did that so the builds sound bigger. More gain. Oh, I brought the gain back up, yeah. And then like hard clipping, that's it. Yeah. So I just basically with this one, like I think this is one of the first tunes that I felt like I didn't need to put a ton of shit on the master because it actually sounded quite good. So but yeah, I spent a lot of time on this in a very short amount of time. I like hardly slept trying to finish this tune, trying to get it to sound cool. Yeah. How do I go about getting the attention of NSD and working with them so much? With that, I had my own thing going on. I had step one and a few other things I was working on, and then Schism had kind of heard step one, and I think that was the kind of track that he pricked up his ears about. But my stuff was always different. Like it was always different from like the NSD stuff, and I never felt like I like fit with that group. Like the Abstracts, the Eptics, the like Must Dies, all those guys are like so incredible. And you know, with anyone who makes music, everyone's quite like underconfident with their stuff, you know. But I just kept doing it for me and like not trying to like sound like, you know, a Must Die or a Abstract or an Eptic, and like kind of through doing that for a long time, like I developed my own sound. But I sent him music, and through a friend, Megalodon actually was one of the like kind of people who always had my back, and he sent Schism some of my stuff. So I don't really have like a great story of that, other than Tommy Schism kept asking me for music, and I kept forgetting to send it, and not forgetting. I kept feeling like it wasn't there yet. I wanted to put more time in it, and yeah, he was like, send me the tunes, and I think he was getting really pissed off with it that I hadn't sent him anything. And so Corey Megalodon sent him these tracks, and he was like, immediately, let's do some stuff. So just keep trying to sound different, you know. I noticed using phase plant, which I got and love, but I think distortion of phase plant is lacking compared to Serum. What are my thoughts? Actually, I think you can go way further in phase plant than you can in Serum, because you can stack multiple distortions one after the other. Like I like the original distortion in Faceplant as much as I like the Facturator. So I think you can go further, but they just added a bunch of stuff as well. So I think Faceplant is going to be the next big one. So yeah, I think like you should try different distortion types on top of each other, and actually EQing before distortion is going to bring the sound to life most of the time. So I like the distortion in the Serum, but I think actually Faceplant is just as good. Okay, cool. Well, if there's anything else you guys want to know, I'm happy to explain or whatever. But I've never done one of these before, so this is kind of special because I don't really show people how I work. I just kind of do my own thing, and yeah. So if you haven't listened to for stereo stuff, let's look what I did. Okay, this one's not so complicated. Kick and snare, just big ones, and I'd led hits until I felt like it was moving. So I'm just going to keep adding them in. That's like a little snap, kind of nasty snare, which I think is stereo. Big clap, another snap, ride, more. I normally just keep going until, with this stuff I'm not like so meticulous with, so long as there's a good power to it and so long as it feels right in the mix, then I just like, that's when it's done. But this little guy makes a lot of difference. Putting like a little snap before your drums come in makes a big difference. I use Faceplant a bit. I'm not that good with it, but I love it. Yeah, it's definitely powerful. I want to show you a cheeky thing that I discovered from, I think it was AU5. And we're going to impart this knowledge because it's going to be useful. Okay, detune any wave. And then you can basically turn this into a wavetable really quickly. I think resample to oscillator A. Yeah. If you put it back to one wave now. So you have full control over like this Reese sound, you know. Obviously you can tidy it up. Yeah. But this is kind of the beginnings of like how I start stuff. It's normally like to do with pitch. So there's a nice kind of snapping. And then some like comb filters normally like just give it a bit of movement. But it's all like, it's kind of dependent on the tune, like how I do things, but generally there's just a lot of different automations with a lot of different things, and keep trying until something works. But yeah, there's something like that. I'm looking for like sparkle and like funness to a sound, you know, so I just try and randomize this, so let's just take a random one, whatever, and set this to be quite slow, or just like a wobble. And like this is just a way of surprising myself via Serum, you know, like I try and do random things. Tonal delay I love, so and you can get this to fluctuate as well, which you can't really. So to be honest, it doesn't sound like much, but these are the sounds that that go the furthest for me. It's just like short little hits and things like that end up being really useful. But limiters. And macros as well are quite useful. That's quite a nice release, actually. Yeah, that resample to A is really useful. So you could even, I think you can just resample this whole thing in as well. Yeah. So now let's, whoa. Yeah, so that's everything resampled. There's a wave, which is now broken. Yeah, cool. Well, that's kind of most of it. I'm going to go through questions that. Yeah, but staying inspired is hard, and like being a musician in general is really hard. So first things first, you have to have confidence in what you're doing and be confident and make music that, you know, it might not sound the best, show other people and be confident with it. And you don't have to sell it to someone, like to a friend, but be confident in what you do and like ask for feedback. And you know, I learned only through negative feedback. I learned only through people saying like, that sounds shit, to make my stuff better. So, you know, I still don't think I'm like really that great of a producer, but I'm starting to feel great about the music I've been making. So cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you to Fire for having me, and thank you for everyone in the chat. Big up, all the love, and that considering doing a sample pack at one point. So let me know if you're interested with that. But yeah, this has been Laxx, over and out. Peace, guys.